Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Life with Nana. I'm Nana, and I'm so glad you're here with me today in the kitchen. Today, we are going to be doing some snack foods for Papa. He's kind of having a snack attack since I've been trying to cut back on sugar and some of the processed stuff. And so, the first thing we're going to be making is cheese crackers. And these are really, really simple. Now, these look like and taste like um, the store bought kind. Sometimes they puff up a little more than the store bought kind do, but that's okay. They're still going to be good. They're still going to be delicious. And actually, Papa made some yesterday. They were so good. I ate a couple of them, and they were really good. So let me tell you what's in this recipe. So 6 ounces of sharp shredded cheese. We are going to be shredding in our, even shredding it down more into our food processor. So if you just have a block of sharp cheddar, you could shred it down in your food processor. 1 cup of all-purpose flour and 1.5 teaspoons of cornstarch, a fourth of a teaspoon of salt, 6 tablespoons of cold cut up butter, and 2 tablespoons of water. So this is very, very simple. And so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get our cheese and our flour and our cornstarch into the food processor. Okay, so I have my food processor here. And actually, this food processor was a great buy. I got it at a yard sale for like $30. Uh, this is a nice KitchenAid um, food processor, been hardly used, and I was really excited to find it. It had all the attachments, and I have used it so many times. I say that over and over again in my videos because I want you to know you don't have to run out and buy fancy equipment. You can check thrift stores, marketplace, yard sales, tag sales, whatever you call them in your area, and you can do the same thing. Now we are going to have to chill this dough, so uh, I want to get this mixed up so I can get it in the refrigerator, and then we'll move on to a different recipe. All right, so the first thing in the processor goes our cheese, and I weighed this out. This is already shredded up pretty finely, but we're going to shred it up even more. Let's see, cornstarch. I have my cornstarch right there. First thing I do, get it all over everything. And just process flour, cornstarch for about 30 seconds. All right, so we're going to go ahead and put our flour in here. Go ahead and knock that off. There we go. Now it's coming together. So I have my silicone mat here, and I'm going to get just a little bit of flour. All right, you can see how this looks. See how much better that looks? That looks better. Okay. Now we're going to get all of this together. says to transfer it to a lightly floured surface, divide into half. So I'm going to get this to where I can tell about what half looks like. Okay. And then we're going to form it into about a 6-inch square or something that looks similar to that. This is really holding together well. We want it to go ahead and get it kind of flat because you're going to be rolling this out. You don't want to be fighting with it. And the thinner you get it, the less time it's going to have to spend in the refrigerator. Now you can wrap this in saran wrap or parchment paper or whatever. It's not going to be in the refrigerator, you know, for a long period of time, just for probably about 45 minutes or so. So I'm just going to use some parchment paper. And I'm going to lay one on. I'm going to lay the other one. And then I'm just going to wrap this up and we're going to put it in the refrigerator. Okay, so the next recipe I want to do are butter cookies. And this is a really good recipe because you can add add-ins to this. Things like pecans or maybe a few mini chocolate chips or, you know, different little things like that that you could do. So my recipe here says a half a cup of softened butter. My butter's not softened. I forgot to lay it out. And that's just the way that goes. 1 stick of butter is a half a cup, so I'm going to need 2 of these. Now, I'm going to put this in the microwave for just probably about 15 seconds. All right. 1 cup of softened butter. And then we're going to need a half a cup of sugar, 2 cups of all-purpose flour, and some vanilla. And it just says to beat the butter and sugar for 5 minutes and add the flour into the beaten mixture and wrap the dough and chill for 30 minutes and then roll it out. And we'll go over the cooking instructions here in just a few minutes. Now, this recipe did say that I could use cake flour or all-purpose flour. I bought some cake flour for a different recipe, and I know that this will sit up in my shelf for eternity if I let it. So, going with the theme for this year is not wasting things and using things that we already have. I have all-purpose flour, I have bread flour, and I have self-rising flour, and I had this cake flour. But I know of all of the flours I have in my house right now, this is the one I won't use. It won't be my go-to flour. So we're going to use this up in this cookie. I hope it works out all right. It says to beat the butter and the sugar together for 5 minutes. So, half a cup. Because it said to do it for 5 minutes, I went ahead and started a timer. And I'll keep my eye on it, and hopefully it won't start beeping and driving you crazy. Now we need 2 cups of either all-purpose flour or cake flour. The recipe did say that you could use the cake flour. Okay, sometimes you have to put a towel about halfway over to keep it from going everywhere. Most of the time you don't have to leave the towel on there for very long. I'm going to do this just a little bit alone. We're going to scrape down the sides of the bowl, and we're going to make sure that everything is incorporated the way it should. Go all the way down to the bottom. Make sure all the flour is the way it should be. And then it says to wrap and chill the dough for about 30 minutes. It'll probably be a little longer than 30 minutes for me. And then we're going to roll out until it's 1/4 of an inch thick. Bake it at 320 degrees for 15 minutes or so. I'm going to add just a little flour to this. Doesn't need much. A nice silky dough. I love that. We're going to get this where we can roll it out fairly simply. Look at that. How pretty. Look how beautiful. Okay. We're just going to wrap this up and put it in the refrigerator. Okay, so we have 2 recipes in the refrigerator chilling out in there, and it won't be long before we can bring them back out and get them all cooked up. The next thing I'm going to do is a recipe that I found in an older cookbook, and this was made with pizza dough, which I think would be fantastic. I still have some of these canned biscuits that I bought during Christmas. And I bought some to make fried chocolate pies and some savory pies and some things like that. And then I made chicken and dumplings with them. Yeah, I have 3 cans of these left. So today I'm going to make a creamy ham. Well, the recipe is called a creamy ham turnover. But what I want to do is I want to make these into small little bites. They'll be snack size. That's the goal. So the first thing I've got to do is get this cream cheese. Again, I forgot to pull it out of the freezer. It was in the freezer. I've had it thawing out here on the counter all morning, but it's still slightly frozen, and it says for it to be in it. I'm going to pop it in the microwave for a few seconds. This thing is fighting me. So it calls for 4 ounces. This is an 8-ounce block. Okay, I think I've got everything. We're going to start off with our biscuits, and we're going to get those. Oh, that gets me every time. If you jumped, you have to like the video. I say that every time. I jump every time it does it. So the first thing we need to do is, it says to mix the cream cheese and the milk. So let's put the milk in there. And I'm using heavy whipping cream because that's what I have. And we're just going to mix that together really well. You could use a mixer if you wanted to. I'm just going to do it by hand. Then you're going to add the dill. And this is dill that I freeze dried. But you could dehydrate dill. Dill is really easy to grow. And I like to kind of mush it up in my hand so that it gets a little finer. You can certainly use store-bought. That already smells fantastic. And then we're going to use about a tablespoon, probably a little bit less, of onion and garlic powder. Probably a half a tablespoon. You want to make sure you get this well incorporated. I'm going to add my cheese of ham that I had canned. It's pretty salty, so I'm not going to add any more salt. So if you are using store-bought, ham, you might want to taste it to see if it needs some salt in there. And I'm not going to put any pepper in these. That might be good too. If you like pepper, go for it. And then I have 2 tablespoons of pimentos. And these are just jarred pimentos from the store. If you don't like pimentos, leave them out. You don't have to put them in there. All right. That's what it looks like. Okay, so got that done. And now we're going to start rolling out these biscuits. And try to get it where it's not in your way. To see. Sort of long ways. And also just a little bit of water to crimp those edges good. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do, I'm going to take a piece just about that size. You can see how thin it is. And I'm going to go ahead and go around the edges with my water. Okay. And then we're going to take just a little bit of this. Everything in here is cooked, so all we're really cooking is the biscuit dough. And we're going to put that in the middle. I got just a little bit too much. And then we're going to fold these over into some little bite-sized pieces. And I'm going to crimp these together, kind of like I did the fried chocolate pies that we made together. And we will put this right on our little pan here. You could certainly use a little brush to do this part. I just typically use my fingers, and I think that's part of being a home cook. You typically do things like that. You don't need a lot of gadgets, although I do have a lot of gadgets, but you don't need them to make a good meal or snacks or whatever it is that you're doing. I think it's fun to get inside the kitchen and just play around and see if we like these. All right, we're down to our last two. We're going to squeeze them on this cooking sheet. All right, we're going to coat these with a little bit of an egg wash so they'll get nice and brown on top. You can add a little milk to this or water if you want to. Now I have some of this everything bagel seasoning, and I'm going to put a little bit of that on just a couple of these. Probably about half of them. I missed one with the egg wash. And in the oven, we're going to put these in the oven, 375 for 25 minutes or 20 minutes. Okay, while we have our ham bites in the oven cooking, we're going to go ahead and get these cheese crackers rolled out. Roll out into about a 9-inch square. Kind of keep moving it around. Okay, so now what we're going to do is these are not going to be fancy. So I'm just going to take a little pizza cutter and I'm going to square the ends. And we'll put these off to the side. And then we're going to do our best to cut these in about 1-inch squares. They're not going to be exact. It's fine. If you want it to be exact, then you go for it. a little easier on this side because I can see where my 1-inch mark is. They still don't have to be perfect. I think life is about progress, not perfection. And then I'm going to take you can take a toothpick. I have a little skewer here. And we're just going to do one hole in the center. And see how much better this works for something like this than what I was trying to use it for before. This gives you a nice uniform dough. This dough is very forgiving. You can just push it back together. We are going to put a little hole in each one of these. Now you could do some cheese powder or something on top of these. You could really do whatever you wanted to. Some paprika, all kinds of different things. Papa likes them pretty plain, kind of like a Cheez-It. And that's what we're trying to mimic here. Let me set my timer. We'll set it for, nope. I like that these are all uniform in thickness. Of course, they're not in the size, but the thickness I think is going to matter more. We're just going to roll this other ball out and see what we can do with it. And I'm not going to worry about that. All right, so the first batch of cheese crackers came out of the oven. I set them on the back porch so they'll cool off because it's cool here. I also set our pan out there so that it'll cool off. You don't want to put chilled cookie dough onto a hot pan. So here's our cookie dough. These are how the hand bites turned out. I think they look good. I think they'll be good. I think I'm going to use this cookie cutter. It's about 1 inch. I'll start trying to get this rolled out. This is coming all to pieces on me. All right. These are a pretty forgiving cookie. And what I like about them is that you could add pecans to these. You could add so many different things to them. And they would be fabulous. They'd be so good. Whew, all right. So now it's just time to clean up a little bit and get these cookies baked. They need to bake for about 18 minutes. So I'm going to set the timer over here on the microwave. All right, we have our butter cookies out of the oven. And we are so excited to have all these snacks available to have in the house for anyone who wants them. I hope these turn out for you as well as they have for me. We had a few hiccups, but that's okay. That's the way it's going to be when you are just a country cook like me. And I hope you enjoyed today's video. Remember, Nana loves you. Nana's so proud of you. And you always have a friend here. I love you.